Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Chris, and the Salomon QST 106 has been my personal favorite ski. For 2026, they didn't just slap a new top sheet on it, they rebuilt the core, reshaped it, and it's better than ever.
QST means quite simply terrific!
For those of you who are new to the channel, my name's Chris. I'm a product development engineer by trade, and part of my job is actually benchmarking competitive products. So I think I can provide pretty good insights into gear reviews. I'm an avid mountain biker, avid skier, so if you're into that sort of content, be sure to subscribe and follow along. Now let's get to the review. Now the big change for 2026 with the QST 106 is primarily in the core. I had the old version of the Salomon QST 106 and it was my daily ski for 4 seasons. Don't hold me to that. I think it was 4 seasons. I absolutely loved that ski. It was my only ski that I ever used, and it was great. I was a little hesitant actually to buy the new version because I love that old ski so much. But I'm happy to report that this version is different, but I think overall it's a little bit better. Now let's talk about why. Now in 2026, Salomon revamped their entire QST lineup, including the QST 106. What they did is they replaced the carbon and flax material, or CFX, that they used in the ski previously, which provided a ton of damping, made the ski feel very damp and composed, but almost a little bit dead in some situations. They replaced it with basalt stringers that run all the way to the tip and the tail. And they extended the cork damplifier all the way down the edge to right here. You can actually see it on the side of the ski. That's how far down this cork damplifier extends to now. So they were able to provide some damping into the ski by extending the cork damplifier and remove some damping and provide a little bit more stiffness and energy by extending the basalt stringers all the way to the tips. So with the new construction, you overall have a little bit stiffer ski. This gives it a little bit higher performance ceiling in my opinion. It still has a nice round flex pattern, as you can see there, but it has a little bit more pop and energy than the previous ski did. Now, they didn't just stop with the core construction. They also changed the shape of this ski. So let's first talk about the most significant change, which is the profile of the ski. They made the ski much more shapely. So overall, it has rocker, camber, rocker, just like the old ski, but it has a lot further splay in the tips and the tails, especially versus the old ski. But most notably, it has a ton of camber underfoot compared to the old ski. Let's show you this on camera here. The old ski was more like that, just to show you a comparison there. So it has like twice as much camber as the old ski, and this makes it feel a lot more energetic out on the trail. The side cut of the ski remains relatively unchanged in the tip, and I'm glad they left it alone because the turn initiation of this ski is truly legendary. But what they did is they made the tail a little bit more squared off. So it finishes the turns with a little bit more authority now and has a little bit better edge grip and a carved turn. Now the squared off tail and the increased rocker, I think, counteract each other to provide a ski that's still pretty maneuverable, but when laid over on edge, provides a little bit more edge grip. One change that I almost forgot that they made for 2026 is they got rid of the ABS injection double sidewall underneath the binding, like in the center of the ski. So it's a bit more of a traditional construction now, which gives it a rounder flex, which I liked. So kudos to Salomon for the changes they made in 2026. I think overall is a big improvement from the previous ski. When it comes to sizing, don't be afraid to size up with the QST 106s. I am 5'8", 180 pounds, geared up, ready to ski. And I chose the 181 centimeter length. I consider myself to be an expert skier and I like to ski pretty aggressively. So I think that kind of plays into why I like the longer length. My previous skis were 173 centimeter 106s, and they felt a little bit too short at times, although they were very maneuverable and easy to get around in the trees and tight moguls that we have here in New England. But overall, I like the longer length better for me. The 181s that I'm holding here are roughly 2,000 grams per ski. So they're actually a little bit lighter than the previous generation. All right, before I dive into the details of how these perform out on the snow, I want to first go over these graphics with you because they have been pretty polarizing. In my opinion, they look much better in person than they do on the internet. You can see it actually has sort of a translucent property here in the clearer section of the skis where you can see the basalt stringers and the poplar wood core. On the sides of the ski, you can see the detail where the corked amplifier comes down. The bases, of course, awesome. In my opinion, they're a good looking ski, but I know these graphics are kind of polarizing because of the pixelated nature of them. But I'm a fan, and they look better in person than they do on the internet. All right, now let's talk about the ski's performance out on the snow. For me, the standout with the ski and why I purchased it is its soft snow performance. This serves as my powder ski here on the East Coast. And what makes it such a great powder ski is the ample tip and tail rocker and this early taper profile that you see here. The widest part of the ski is all the way down here. This gives it a ton of effective area in the front of the ski, so it surfs and planes up on top of the snow really easily. And it's incredibly intuitive and easy to surf and smear on the ski in soft snow conditions. Now on a powder day, it just takes a few runs for things to get tracked out. And when things do get tracked out, this ski still performs exceptionally well. It's a little bit stiffer in the tips and tails than the previous generation, and that makes it feel more planted in chopped up variable conditions and snow. It has a much more planted feel, and because it's stiffer, it just allows you to charge faster and harder through the variable chopped up conditions, which is just more fun in my opinion. Now in chopped up snow, this ski doesn't feel quite as much like a monster truck as a heavier or more damp ski. They've kind of made this a little bit more of an energetic ski this 2026 model year. It kind of wants you to have a little bit more of an active style through the tracked out terrain. So think of instead of just kind of monster trucking straight through, this ski wants you to kind of pop off and just kind of play with the terrain and have a little bit more fun along the way. So it encourages a little bit more dynamic skiing style, but just know it's not going to be a ski you can kind of sit on and just roll through all the tracked out terrain. You're going to need to provide some input in that sort of situation. Now, one of the things I loved so much about my old 106s is how seamlessly they transition between different snow conditions. Heavy snow, ice, firm, chalk, just transitioning between those different snow conditions in a single turn or just between, a single run felt really seamless on the old ski, and it feels the same on this. So that was something I was really happy to find, as that's something I love so much about the old ski. It just feels so predictable, and it makes you kind of feel one with the ski. You know what the ski is going to do. There's no surprises. It doesn't, just immediately wash out from under you. If you hit a slick patch of ice, if you hit something firm, it doesn't just kind of dig in and carve. It's just really intuitive and easy and fun to ski. All right, so as expected, it's pretty great in soft snow conditions, but how does it perform on a groomer or on trail? In anything but the firmest conditions, you can absolutely lay over some trenching carves on this ski, but it does require some speed to get there. Now let me explain. The stiffer tips and tails of this ski provide a little bit better finish to a carved turn, but in order to get into that turn and really bend the ski, because it is a little bit stiffer, it requires just a little bit more speed. So if you're on like a green or a blue and you're trying to lay some carved turns down, it's not going to be quite as easy and intuitive as if you're on a little bit steeper slope. On a steeper slope, you have plenty of energy that you can push into the ski. And if the snow is good, you can absolutely lay these things over and lay some trenching carves. Even in spring slush, as you'll see in this clip right here, the ski tracks really well, gets hopped to high edge angles, and just absolutely rips when the conditions permit and you have the speed for it. Now, to engage the ski into a carved turn, you really need to initiate some higher edge angles, which I think is also playing into the part of the ski needing speed. to carve effectively. At the shallower edge angles, the ski just wants to be surfy and maneuverable and fun, but to get it to carve, you really need to get it up onto those higher edge angles, which requires more speed, more input, and good snow conditions. When you do lay the ski over on edge into a carve, it's happiest making large GS style turns. Think of like a big mountain ski. This is the 181 and has a 19.5 meter turn radius, and that feels pretty accurate and true. You don't need to excessively drive the tips of the ski in order to initiate a carve. It does a pretty good job of pulling you into the carve, but you do need to apply some forward pressure. If you're just standing totally centered on the ski, it's not going to want to initiate the turn quite as nicely as something like the Unleashed 98, which really pulls you into the turn. This requires a little bit more skier input to start it. So let's say it's a little bit later in the day, the groomers are all skied out and all the snow's been pushed to the edges. This ski loves the edges of the trail. It's happy to surf. You can engage the edges and kind of get some snappy short turns going. You can mix up your turn shapes between the two. It's really intuitive to ski in that sort of situation. It's really easy to release the tails, but you can get it to engage an edge when you want it to by weighting it, and it's just really fun and intuitive to ski on the sides of the trail. All right, so we talked about groomers, which is not necessarily what this ski is best for, but it does a pretty good and admirable job at performing on the trail. Where this ski is exceptional is off trail. The ski is extremely maneuverable and agile, especially for a 106 underfoot ski. I mean, this thing absolutely rips bumps. If the snow is somewhat soft, these things are my favorite bump ski, even more so than my Unleashed 98s. They're just extremely intuitive to use, as I've probably said too many times in this review now. But what I mean by that is you can manipulate the ski to do what you want by just controlling the edge angles and pressure. Sure, you could do that with any ski, but the sweet spot with this ski is just so large. Now, I've had this ski out on some pretty firm days as well, and it would not be my first choice if you were skiing firm conditions all the time, but it doesn't have a socks on hardwood sort of feeling when you hit a patch of ice. It has a pretty reassuring amount of grip, but I absolutely would not want to trust this thing carving on firm icy conditions. It's just not what the ski is made for. It's truly meant to be a soft snow sort of all mountain ski. All right, now to kind of wrap things up, I want to compare the QST 106 to the QST 100. Some of you might be deciding between those two widths, and I think there is a difference between those two skis, but they are pretty close in performance. My dad has the QST 100s. We've skied plenty of days together, and in my opinion, the QST 100s are just a little bit lighter, more playful, maneuverable ski. They hold a little bit better of an edge than the 106s, but very slightly. And this is just due to the shaping of the 100. They have less early taper, a little bit less of a spoony shape, more of a squared off tip. So they carve a little bit better and have a little bit better on-trail performance. The QST 106 is really geared a little bit more towards soft snow and big mountain performance. It's a little bit heavier, a little bit more of a burly ski compared to the 100. Yeah, you can't go wrong with either one. My dad loves his QST 100s, but for sort of an all-mountain ski, I think the 100 might be a little bit better choice if that's your only ski. Unless you really prioritize soft snow performance or you live out west, then maybe go with the 106. All right, the final verdict. Who do I think this ski is for? I think the QST 106 is for the advanced or expert skier. It could be your daily driver if you live out on the West Coast, or if you are on the East Coast, this would be a great powder or soft snow ski. It's for those who prioritize off-trail performance, want a ski that is surfy but easy to get along with, performs pretty well on trail. If you're looking for a daily driver for East Coast skiing, I think there are better options than the QST 106. I mean, I would look at the QST 100, just a little bit narrower ski, but has a little bit more edge grip, or something like the Unleashed 98 if you really do value on-trail performance. All right, so that's gonna wrap up my thoughts on the Salomon QST 106. Salomon truly refined the legendary 106 to make it a more powerful and energetic ski while remaining intuitive and easy to get along with, just like the previous generation, which made it so great. So props to Salomon for making a great ski. If you're still here watching this video, be sure to hit the like button if you found this helpful. Subscribe if you want to follow along for more ski or mountain bike content in the future. And if you have any experience with the Salomon QST 106 or similar skis, Share your feedback down in the comments section below. I think the more feedback that we can gather for everyone who's trying to make an informed decision on their next purchase, the better. So let's help each other out. Drop it in the comments. Until next time, I'm Chris. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.